Good morning. Call this committee of the whole meeting September 16th to order with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge Athabasca County is located on First Nations Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 traditional territory. We respect and honor all First Nations, Métis, Inuit peoples' connection to the lands, their history, language, and culture. So thank you for joining us here. Councillor Chamzik and Councillor Wallach give their regrets. Councillor Hall will be with us later. Councillor Kapitanic is on Zoom. And never heard from Councillor Cromwell, so. But on that, we'll look for approval of the agenda. Any add-ons or go ahead.
Thank you so much. I have two add-ons if council will the committee will approve. One is both enclosed. One is in intergovernmental for Pembina Zone and the other is in intergovernmental for a CEO meeting.
CEO meeting. Okay, and that's enclosed. So that's 9.2 intergovernmental and 9.3 intergovernmental.
One more.
And
I apologize again. Enclosed intergovernmental stakeholder engagement survey.
9.4. Another intergovernmental. Okay.
The chair. Accept the RCMP piece.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else with any add-ons, additions, deletions, anything? See none? Go ahead.
Is there something prepared for the Pembina Zone item? Because I wasn't aware of anything coming up for today's meeting.
It's just a quick discussion.
And with his own item on what? Where's that at?
The 9 point, I guess that one would be 9.2,
Oh, okay.
the additional.
Okay. You're okay with that? No? You would, yeah. Okay. So seeing nothing else? All in favor? 2, 3. Opposed?
Nay.
3 and 2 is carried. The agenda is carried. So. I guess from there, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. And there's one item we need to discuss from the meeting. We approved the minutes in the August 19th meeting. From the June 17th meeting with a slight little error. And we should change that. It's under resolution CW 25-54. Just the wording. It says June 17th, 2025, regular county council. Should say committee of the whole. So that's the only change that I know of in there. So if we could have them. Go ahead.
I'll move to approve them as amended.
As amended? Okay, perfect. So no other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5 and 0. So let's move that along. Thank you. So we got delegations starting. Delegations will be at 4.1 will be first one is RCMP at 10 a.m. So we got a little bit of time here. So we'll go to number 5.1, page 47 of your agenda. Begin with our reports. And that would be the first one is from our CAO, Mr. Beck. Any discussion regarding that? Any questions? Any other stuff you want to talk about, Mr. Beck, at all, or you're good there? Okay. Looks like me, a lot of meetings, stuff like that. So that's good. Any questions for Mr. Beck? Okay, seeing none. Oh, recall.
No question, just a quick comment. Just wanted to extend gratitude to CAO Beck for, he's got a lot on his plate and working extremely hard on a lot of these projects, having a lot of these meetings, dealing with a lot of agreements and really pushing the county forward. So I just want to say thank you for doing all of that. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for that, because we are moving forward in the right direction, I think. So it's looking like it and then everything's improving. So that's the main thing. So. Okay, we will, if there's no other questions, we will move on to the Director of Finance report, Mr. Daly. Thank you for joining us. I think this is the first time you've been with us, right?
Yes.
You betcha. So, you betcha. So any questions of Mr. Daly on this report of his? Councillor Anderson?
Thank you. Through the chair to the director. It states that the assessments have been updated and amended notices have been mailed for, I believe, 11 roles. Does that reduce the amount of appeals that we have to deal with yet, or were these separate properties?
I believe that is the 11 that will be going to, the appeals, 11 appeals that we will be having coming up in, the next month. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of Mr. Daly that anybody has? Oops. Oh, go ahead, Yvonne.
Thank you so very much. I was just curious, just above that note that Councillor Anderson mentioned, the assessments have been updated and amended notices have been mailed. Municipal tax revenues decreased by $19,802.91 because of those amendments. The property classes, does that reduce then and come out of our general reserves for that, for our budget, or how does that?
So generally, when we set up the, like originally when we posted taxes, they're posted as a receivable. So when people pay, it would reduce this receivable. So on our, it would on our income statement, like on our 01 account, it would reduce the amount of income we're coming in for this year. We wouldn't technically do a transfer to reserve until the end of the year, once we, whether or not we have a surplus or deficit or what the case may be in our financial statements. So right now, you probably just see a variance, like if we had budgeted a certain amount and now we're reducing a few tax rolls, we'd have a variance because it would probably be coming in under budget due to lower assessments.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I may, just a
Yep.
quick question. And on page 50, it's mentioned that 43 of the 91 plus, I would assume days overdue are less than $10. Is there a discussion or a plan that possibly those 91 plus that are less than $10 become basically written off in some way, or do we continue to track them?
Sure, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Mr. Daly and I still have to have that discussion, but yes, we do have a process whereby we can write those off. That'll be coming to council once we have all of that information compiled.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the report as well. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Any other questions of Mr. Daly? Awesome report. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to Ms. Ambley, Director of Corporate Services. Any discussion with or any questions that we can throw at Ms. Ambley? Everything looks pretty good here. Moving along. Okay, seeing none. Oh,
I
Revolt.
was waiting, hopefully somebody else had a question. Thanks again for these reports. The information, as we mentioned before, is extremely valuable and very helpful. With the election, on page 51, the last bullet point, get residences counts for MA databases for entry of election information from GIA. A lot of acronyms. Just curious, just curious if we could get a bit more of a description of what that means. Please.
I apologize. I tried to remove as many acronyms as I could. That's the database to municipal affairs that we're required to provide to them. Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Okay. Uh, Good on my end. Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. On page 52, under community grants, says contacted schools, drafted letters, and requested payment for multiplex swim recipients. And then it lists all the schools. And I'm just wondering, we pay them for the swim program, correct? Like, we're not requesting that they pay us for a balance?
Correct, to the chair. Yes, we did send letters to all of the schools. I think what she meant in there is just to verify the values that they're required.
And then on page 54, it says our LGFF operating, we were awarded $344,076. How does this compare to our previous MSI funding levels?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I will have to take a look at the history just to take a look at that. And just so you know, we are still in the process of finalizing that report. The government's portal was shut down and it's now going to be reopened. So we're still in that process, but I will get that information and send council an email on that.
Okay, perfect. And good.
Yes, thank you. I just think it's really important to be able to point that out to the public that I think it's been reduced quite a bit
Yeah,
to have those actual numbers put in front of us. It's
Yeah.
important.
yeah. Compare apples to apples and see how the new program is matching. So, you betcha. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none. We'll move on to Ms. Wilkinson, Director of Community and Protective Services. Is there any questions or comments or anything for Ms. Wilkinson? Go ahead, Joe.
Just out of curiosity, the number of properties that the county has that you're listing, you have a ballpark number of how many properties that would involve? I know it's pretty much.
I don't have that number offhand, but we will be bringing something to council in the future.
Do you think it's, 50 range, 20 range?
Oh, it's more than that.
Good.
Okay. Any other questions? Ray Holland.
Thank you very much. Again, can't say enough how we appreciate these reports. Page 55, it mentions under enforcement services, increased number of OHV complaints in Collington, Rochester areas. Is that in the hamlets or is that on the roads, just outside the hamlets? Can we get a bit more of an idea of what's happening there?
It's in and around in the surrounding areas. So I don't think it's specifically in the hamlets, but certainly in and around.
Okay, thank you. What was the other one? The economic development, page 56. It's mentioned assisted with 2024 SCOP grant reporting. I was just curious what that was. It didn't ring a bell for me.
That's to do with the rural women's.
Okay, okay, thank you. I had a few other items here. Oh, it mentioned the webinar courses, under webinar courses, economic development, the Alberta Investment Data Hub. And it was very interesting, some of the articles that are coming out regarding the data hubs in Alberta. Is that through that webinar, was it beneficial to figure out ways to possibly attract that type of a data hub? Just curious where we're at with those.
Well, it's certainly something that she's continuing to sort of have her finger on the pulse, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. No, that's good news. And just a quick mention and shout out, it says on page 57, the annual community barbecue, the Community and Protective Service Barbecue hosted on Tuesday, August 26th, was amazing. It was one of the better ones that I've attended, and it was so great to see not only all the positive feedback from it, but all of the different services come out and showcase their wares. It was very, very cool to see, and I know a lot of the kids really enjoyed it too. So thank you very much for putting those together. And on your very last, on page 58, it's so great to see the housing permits as well. That's a wonderful information. So thank you for doing that. Welcome.
I totally have to agree on that community barbecue. I came in with 4 grandkids and they had fun from 14 down to 7 and they had fun all there. So the still the sheriff command truck was a huge hit. So, and a lot of it was due to air conditioning in there. So, yeah, yeah. And kids always love hot dogs. So, Counselor Gerlach, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, is there anything on, there was a pilot project going to be done in Bargain in regards to golf carts or whatever? I keep getting questions from Mystic Meadows as to where, if we were just sort of waiting for the results of their project, or don't recall.
We brought a report to council last month, I think,
Oh,
and it was accepted as information. So we aren't currently pursuing that project until we get further direction from council.
I think if I can comment on that just a bit, was came to council. And being that there's a bunch of projects or being looked at already, one actually at Whispering Hills under the government program. And I noticed I think there's one going on in Summer Village of Island Lake too. They're registering golf carts there and that too. And what we were going to do as council is we were going to wait until we see what the reports are through them.
Yeah, that was the way I understood it as well, and I just thought maybe some report was available now.
Mr. Chairman, as I recall, direction of council was to refer it to the next council and they'd review it as part of their strategic planning and see if that one rises to the top or not. That's all.
Okay. Right on. So any other questions? Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. The report on page 55 states there's 5 dog at large complaints were received and 2 of which resulted in enforcement action. And then just lower down, it says 1 complex dog versus livestock file ongoing. And I'm just wondering if admin has found any changes in enforcement due to the new dog bylaw that was implemented.
I wouldn't say particularly yet. That particular file was started under the old bylaw. So.
Okay. Good. Okay. It's 10 to 10, so we got a few more minutes yet. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. We will move on to the Director of Infrastructure Services, Mr. Morton. Have a chair. Good morning. You betcha.
For me.
I, I will start off by saying it's been great out there. Everybody's been doing great work. And I personally went out to the bridge pipe that was put in at Babiax and Division 8, and what a great job. To me, I like seeing that stuff. It's the way of moving forward, eh? So I've always enjoyed looking at them after. So great work on everybody's. Gravel's going on. Mother Nature has been really playing with us very well, which is great to see. So
Heard on water truck bills, but yes,
yeah.
we'll take it.
Yeah, I've always said in Athabasca County, that I know at times it's not good to be dry, but our jobs are a little bit easier when it's dry. So, yeah, no, on the Zelman Road repair, great work on that. I drove down it the other day and just noticed there might be a few spots where we need to staple down.
So final inspection occurred this week. That was one of the deficiencies that was identified, was that some of the erosion control needed better anchoring. There was a few deficiencies still, so they're still working on it, which they should be able to wrap it up fairly soon as they repair the list of deficiencies. It's better than it was, right? Like, we all know that was a tough scenario to try and get any type of a standard road in there. So it's much better than it was. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
it,
Well, and that's the way I look at it too. It's much better than what it was, and with going from the feedlot back to the Larver Road, what we call it 235. Straighten the ditch lines up there and stuff like that. So that's great work. At least we've got a defined roadway there, and a little bit of brushing on the north side. A little bit more brushing would be a bonus. It'd be a heck of a bonus. There's no Saskatoon trees in there, so it's a fight here. So supposedly somebody wiped out a bunch of Saskatoon trees at one time, but no, it's a definite positive added onto there. I know the area residents would like to see it cut down more, bigger, less grade on the slopes, but there's that.
huge money.
Yeah, huge money, and you're just dropping down that much of a grade that quick, eh? So yes. Okay, no, and I look forward to seeing once the deficiencies are done. So, and that again, great work from Trigen and everybody on that bridge pipe that turned out very nice. It erosion control there it's nice to see that. So, and I think everybody's happy around there from what I've heard. Everybody seems to be happy, so. I got one underwater, arranged a water truck to provide potable water in Wandering River. I guess just wondering, where is that gonna be charged to? Do we charge that out to?
Yeah, it'll be billed to the water budget. It's gonna probably put us over. But that's where it'll be billed, is to the water.
Be a separate line item that we can have a look at, or?
Yeah, we'll be able to, it won't be a separate line item yet, but we can definitely break it out for you and let you know if that's what council wants, is to know what that value was. We can definitely break it out by invoice and just give you the number. But in the budget, we don't have it broke out that way.
Yeah, you betcha. Then it looks like there's gonna be some fixes to the, or enhancements to the truck fill at the fire hall for future emergencies and that. Will that be discussed with council before that happens, or is that just gonna happen?
Trying to think if it was already in budget or if. Actually, I think that was one of the options for moving forward, so it wouldn't have been in budget, so we would have to chat with council if that's
Yep.
the way you want to go.
Okay. I think other than that, it was. I'm very happy to see the gravel going on the road and everything, so that's enough for me. Anybody else? Mr. Gerlach.
I just have to comment, usually when we have these dry conditions like this, washboard is a real problem, and I don't know what the guy's doing down there. But we don't have a washboard. Like it just. It's just when it's been dry, the washboard is, it's rated one day and washboard is the next, and it's. And I told people they're driving on the county roads now to avoid the pavement. And secondly, I'm still concerned about that fiber mat in Perryville.
So lots of discussion on the fiber mat, the guys, they want to tear it up. I've been reluctant to tear it up, but they are gonna have to tear up a portion of it that's really bad.
That part up by the hall.
Yeah, they're trying, there's a stretch in front of the old store or something that's pretty good,
Yeah,
and they want to leave that.
that makes sense.
And so they want to go tear up the other piece. It doesn't help to patch it. It just keeps punching out. So, the plan is to still do that this year.
Good, because I noticed there was some holes this big and this.
Oh,
But they're,
okay.
they're,
So we have the same issue up at Saudi Road. That's the name of it. Sorry, I'm still trying to remember these roads. The fiber mat is up there as well. So what we've done is we're going to be milling that up with the contractor that is currently doing the soil cement for us. So we'll be moving up there to mill that stretch up. But
part of the problem there is that every spring there's frost boils underneath that portion of the road. So I don't know what it'd be like when that comes up, but it's, those frost boils are gonna be a problem in the future.
yeah, so the plan is to rip it up this year
Good,
still.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Revolt.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the report as I've mentioned, great information, busy, as per usual. Pictures are a nice added touch, so thank you for that. Just curious about the, agricultural services, the Flat Lake Dam maintenance that has been completed and staff are monitoring the flow. No issues have arisen since the dam maintenance has been completed. So with regards to the flow, I'm assuming that's a slow movement to start bringing the level of Flat Lake down?
Yeah, it was. The concern was if once the dam was open that, or one concern had been raised that it might lower the level too quickly or whatever, but with how dry it's been,
There's
not
no-
really an issue.
Okay, so that's
It's
awesome.
kind of gone down on its own, so.
Fantastic. I really appreciate that project getting completed and the remedy is in play now. So I thank you very much for that. And that's all I have. Again, thank you again for the report and great information. And of course, for all the work you're doing. It's huge.
Councillor Anderson.
Under maintenance, have all the asphalt repairs been completed for the year?
No. So we have some to do at White Gull, subdivision, I guess. There's a significant patch there, and as well as coming off of the road before you go south into White Gull. We have to fix the asphalt apron there. So that's still to be done this year. Those are the big asphalt repairs that I'm aware of. If there's another one that I should know about, let me know. We still have a little bit of budget, but of course there's cold mix repairs just for potholes still. That's ongoing, but that was the only significant asphalt repair that we had on our books for this year.
Okay, there's some rather large potholes in front of the Catholic store in the street.
Caslin?
Yeah.
Okay,
that
so that
I
would be
wanna Look at
potholes.
either for this year or next year, but I mean, they're big enough that the duals of my truck fit in them, so.
Ouch. Okay, so that's just a cold mix repair, right? So that should be being done right now. So, that wouldn't be one of the big asphalt patches. I will get that looked at.
Thank you. Of course, far too soon, they'll be full of ice and snow, then they won't be as big of holes, but. I also had a question about, on page 68, it mentions that there were completed repairs on Blue Heron and Amisk Lake boat launches and remaining launches to be repaired before freeze up. We know how many or which boat launches are remaining on the list for repairs this year?
Jamie knows. She did mention it to me. I apologize. I can't remember the names of them all. There's one that we had some Baptiste that need some gravel off the side. I think Skeleton, there might have been another one where I know we get lots of feedback over the width, but it's a standard width. The old standard width. So that doesn't mean that the new standard isn't nice and wide, but that would mean we'd have to replace all our boat launches. But there is some maintenance that we can do to them to try and I guess make them less dramatic when the wheel falls off. So I think they had 4 left
Okay,
that they wanted to look at.
just hoping Golden Nodding was on that list for this.
Golden Nodding?
It's,
Okay.
again, it's just that washout at the end of the concrete, but it's gotten quite significant.
Is that the one we surveyed? No, that was Amisk. Sorry.
Amisk Lake, yeah. And then for all of these boat launches that are being repaired, do we expect these repairs to hold? Or are we expecting further repairs to need to be done next year? Like,
I-
are they a continuous thing that we need to monitor
They will,
every year and plan?
sorry, through the chair. They will be ongoing. Most of it's just material on the side of the concrete or the ends. It'll be something that we fight for
Every year.
ever.
Wonderful. Thank you. And my final question is about grasshopper surveys.
Well, I'm gonna have to get back to you.
Okay, I won't get too depth on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Director Morton? Seeing none, because we're about 5 minutes away from, or 5 minutes late into our next delegation. I want to say a great work out there too, getting the airport road fired up. Thank you very much for that. So, okay, so I guess we'll break for a few minutes here and we'll move to our delegation, the RCMP. Great to see you. See, we got a couple of new, well, not really new faces, but a couple of new people. So we'll go around, we'll introduce ourselves. And then we'll get you guys to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go on from there. And so starting with on my right.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you so much again for being here and for the new faces being here as well. Tracy Holland, I'm Reeve of Athabasca County as well as Counselor for Division 5, which is east of Athabasca in the Parkview, Amber Valley, Prospita. Listen to me, I'm moving into Kelly's area. Parkview, Paxson, and Amber Valley areas.
Good morning, Joe Gerlach from the Rochester Prairieville area, beautiful Division 1.
Constable.
Spursy, Boiler, RCMP. Sergeant Lee Simpkins, unit commander for Royal Athabasca and with Buffalo Traffic.
Sergeant Gavin Berge from the Athabasca Detachment.
Good morning, welcome. Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3, which is the Caslam Boyle area.
And being on Zoom with us is Counselor Capitania. Could you want to?
Good morning, Natasha Kavataniak from Collington, Minnook, and New Pine Creek.
And also joining us at the same time is communications manager, right? Coordinator, Jordan Schinkelberg, recording secretary, Tammy Flaird, and our CAO, which I think we all know, Mr. Beck. So, and I'm Rob Mintz, Division 8, Baptist Lake Island Lake area. So when you go to talk or do anything, it's the mic. That way it's Natasha can hear on Zoom and it's recorded. So take it from there. Who wants to go first? Gavin, good morning.
Sure. Start us off with Athabasca. Mark couldn't make it today. He's got a whole bunch of stuff on his plate, so he sent me in his place. So just speaking to quarter 1 here for the Athabasca Detachment, I'll speak to our community priorities first of property crime and substance abuse, drug enforcement. So for property crime, the initiative remains on track, and we're still conducting targeted hotspot patrols. We've sort of done a continuous warrant roundup throughout the summer. It's led to numerous arrests, recovery of stolen property, and for quarter 1, there were 46 occurrences for property crime in a population of 8,123. Which represents 5.66 property crime occurrences per 1,000 residents. So that we're using that metric to guide our continued property crime enforcement. We've had lots of success with our prolific offender management program that we started in the start of the summer, and I think there was 6 prolific offenders through the summer months here that we've arrested, and resulted in 28 charges, new criminal charges. Most of them being breaches and property crime offenses such as possession of property obtained by crime. For drug enforcement, the initiative also remains on track. We conducted sort of a joint effort with the Alberta Sheriff Interdiction Patrol Team. We made a good stop on a prolific offender in a vehicle downtown here, but they operate out of north of the bridge there at 19 Pine Grove, which I'll speak to in a second. But yeah, we got drugs, some break and enter tools, and we seized the vehicle as well. So that vehicle has not been back on the road. And matter of fact, in the last month, I haven't seen either of those 2 that we arrested. So they might have left town. We'll be looking to do a project here through the winter with specific goal of drug enforcement. So we'll speak to more of that in the spring with results, but that's something that's on our plate right now. So in quarter 1, we have sort of 12 habitual offenders throughout the county. We monitor them daily or near daily. Every shift, at least someone's getting checked on. So this continuous monitoring and enforcement on these habitual offenders has been a significant contributor to why the property crime is down right now. And then sort of our four biggest property crime offenders are in jail, and we share like between Boyle and Westlock, is sort of where these guys operate. So with the efforts of Boyle, Westlock, and ourselves, those guys have been in jail all summer, and we noticed a big decrease in rural property crime, sort of the smash and grab through the rural gate. And yeah, I mean, they're still happening, but far fewer than they have been. So that's our Q1, and then I'll just speak to the detachment statistics here. So for file types by workload for us for Q1, which is through the summer, really, 31% of our time was spent on the murder, which I'm sure everyone knows about in Calling Lake. And then we had the attempted murder in Rochester, which was a significant portion of our time was spent investigating those occurrences. And then for most of our general occurrences, breach of peace was a big one, but we're scoring our prolific offender management checks as breaches of peace. And so any interaction with these individuals or files generated by us with them, we are scoring as a breach of peace. And then the rest were well-being checks, suspicious persons, motor vehicle accidents, other moving traffic, and then assistance to other provincial units. So from a safety perspective, those are great because we're not dealing with the violent or property crime offenses through the summer that we historically have dealt with. So we're seeing a lot of success there. And then for the detachment, we have 15 positions, 14 are filled right now with one soft vacancy, one hard vacancy. We're getting a new recruit in a month, so we back up to full steam ahead, but we are going to be sending one to assist Barhead because they're short, so we're going to go back down. But all in all, nothing's changing for the foreseeable future unless people start to transfer out. But I'm working hard at sabotaging everyone's transfers, so Amy and Point. Just some points I have here. So Amy's been dealing with Athabasca Cares. They're connecting to Alberta Social Services to seek funding for year-round support for the homeless population or people in need. Body-worn cameras, as of next week, you'll see us with body-worn cameras. We're doing the training this week, at the end of the week, and then we're rolling those out. So I'll have to watch my mouth now, I guess. Protect DNA. So funding is not approved on behalf of the RCMP for the startup cost. It's classified as non-operational, which was sad to see, but despite our attempts for probably until at least next fiscal, the funding won't be provided by the RCMP. The budgeting constraints are going to remain in place until at least new fiscal, and then we'll see what happens going into next year, into April, May, June, and into the summer months for that. Some of the community concerns we've heard, especially I'll speak to the Rochester incident because there has been some concern brought up about safety in Rochester. The individuals that were involved in the attempted murder were both well known to us. They live across the street from each other. The suspect, who's still in custody, Billy Joe Darren, he has been sort of one of our main habitual offenders in that south area. I don't see him coming back for the foreseeable future. The victim was as well problem property for us in Rochester, and she won't be back anytime soon either. So we're working in consultation with the county to do some sort of proactive enforcement for the residents of Rochester with regard to unsightly properties and problem properties, which really in Rochester itself, there's been no issues with any of the properties. But we still continue, once a shift or once every couple shifts, we still make our way down to Rochester, and I don't tell people when or where we're going to be there, so that it's sort of a surprise for anyone who might be thinking about committing any crime down there. But Rochester, since that incident, which was a one-off and a targeted incident, there's really no need for the community to feel the fear that we've been, and then that's on us to address that with the residents. So, when we're down there flying the flag, we try to have that conversation, and then they have lots of good information for us as well about the community. So that pretty much covers our summer for Athabasca. So any questions or?
Go ahead, Revon.
Thank you very much for your report. It has been a very busy summer for you and a lot of unfortunate incidents and which is always raises a few alarm bells in the community and we thank you for your dedication to that and your professionalism in handling them. So that is very much appreciated, as well as the support groups that come along with that. Again, when we got to do that, our talk and the ERT team tour, it certainly made a big difference in understanding, more understanding of what you go through. So thank you so very much and for the support that's there. You mentioned Protect DNA being non-operational. What does that mean as far as rolling it out in the future?
So it's classified as non-operational, so the funding is not approved for non-operational. Operational are things such as police vehicles, firearms, uniform kit and equipment, anything that we need to do our day-to-day job. So they see Protect DNA as sort of an extra, sort of a nice to have, not a must have.
Okay.
For operations. So I've been working with Sean from Protect DNA, and he's based out of Florida, to see what other departments, because a lot of the sheriff's offices and departments in the United States have had success with working with their counties or towns or cities to get funding. Either they split the funding, or the county might pay for the startup, or the town might pay for the startup. So I'm working with Sean to see what kind of business case type things they've done from the sheriff's offices down in the States to provide to council, be it town or county, to seek the funding from there. And then once we get the ball rolling on that, then we have funding to go forward, and we can take that data to the RCMP and say, listen, the county of Athabasca or the town of Athabasca has paid for this program. Here's the success rate we've had. We've had 4, 5, 6 convictions. We've recovered this amount of stolen property. And then the RCMP would say, okay, well, yeah, that's good. We can make some room in the budget for that. So
Great.
that's sort of where I'm at.
It being an enhancement, I guess, to what it is as a toolkit, what type of cost are you looking at so far?
So for the startup cost for the initial, say 50 kits, would be about $900 to $1,000. I believe it was a 956 or somewhere in there. I can't remember the exact number, but it's $900 to $1,000 for a startup
Okay.
to get the initial kits rolled out. And then we would manage the advertisement through social media and through the county.
Okay. Thank you very much for continuing to work on that. I think that would be a really cool initiative to have in the area and would be very helpful, not only for the RCMP, but for residents as well. So thank you so much for continuing to work on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a positive way to go that I can see. Getting this rolled out would be great, so. Okay, any other discussions?
Thank you. In your statistics from Q1, it states that there's been a significant increase in fraud related statistics anyways.
Yeah, I'll
Can you
speak to that.
to kind of what kind of frauds you're seeing? If it's just more people willing to report them or what's happening?
For sure, it's a significant increase in reporting, but it's also a significant increase in scammers getting more adept at tricking people via marketplace, Kijiji, any buy and sell classified advertisement. There's so many good fakes now that, more and more people are falling for it, and they're sending money. You know, they want to buy a lawnmower. And I know I just went to buy a ride on a lawnmower a few weeks ago, and there was a Slave Lake advertisement for a really good price, and things weren't adding up, but it was very convincing. So people are falling for these, and then they're losing, you know, it's small amounts, 500,000, 1,500, but they're sending a deposit and then that disappears. And that's the majority of what we're seeing. And Amy might be able to speak more from the console side and what they're seeing from general day-to-day calls, but that's mostly what I'm seeing.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, it's usually people coming in the front counter, lots of questions about what fraud consists of versus phishing. We might score some files as fraud where it's just simply phishing, just so it can actually fall under something that's like quantifiable. A lot of it is, yeah, online, approaching elderly folks, or impersonating family members, but a lot of people are pretty savvy and they'll cut that communication off. And then we refer them to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. So they have somewhere actually to go for more support. And the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center will gather those stats and investigate things on their end as well. So it can cover quite a bit of stuff.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And then, and yeah, I just wanted to comment too, that our RTOC tour again, second time I went on it. Huge in my books too, for everybody to actually go and see what happens there. It's amazing, so.
It's ironic that we brought you there, and then 2 weeks later, we had a massive file where, you know, just the Calling Lake alone, there was 60 police officers from around the province in Calling Lake that day.
Yeah,
And without our talk there to manage it, you can imagine the rat's nest it would become where people don't know where anybody is. And we had an armed assailant on a quad driving around. So the ability to have our talk there made it just a game changer for getting that person into custody.
yeah, you betcha. Mr. Gerlach.
And just to get back to the DNA thing, like the total is $1,000 to get it started.
Yeah, the totals so it's 900 something to get it started for the initial kits rolled out, which is sort of just the, you know, we don't want to take 1,000 kits and then 900 of them are sitting in the detachment, because everyone who's gotten one, or, you know, with one kit you can do up to 70 items. So, you know, a farmer gets one kit, now he's got his side by side, his lawn tractor, his big tractor, his chainsaw, like he only has so much stuff. So one kit can do a lot of things. So I think we start with around 25 to 50 kits. And then if they go like wildfire and people are logging their stuff into the system, then we would get more.
And theirs are given out free.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
And just to follow up with that as well, I think that it's an awesome initiative that I would love to, of course, see come to the area. But even if somebody wants to go ahead and purchase a kit, they can do that as well. So through Protect DNA, it's not, I think it's 20 some odd dollars American. So it's not, it's a very, very tiny investment for what we hope to see a huge return on.
I just need to excuse myself. We have a file that I have to go to. So I just want to let you know I'm not just bailing, but I have to actually bail.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming and meeting with us today. You betcha. So I guess we'll move on to who's next? President Paprizi.
Morning, thanks for having us and myself. I'll just slip right into it. So April, May, June is what we'll be discussing about Boyle. The priorities that we're working on and discussed were the priority one, traffic safety. That's very broad, but essentially that's JFOs, Joint Force Operations, which is check stops and just enforcement with our other partner agencies. Keep that cooperation going. So over this first quarter, it's been going not bad. April, May saw good efforts. June, we had to reduce some of that opportunity. I lost most of my senior guys in June and I had a backfill of 3 recruits. Which was a triple whammy. So having said that, the recruits, the strain that it puts on our detachment is I can't rely on them right away to be in their own vehicle, so they have to double up. So there might be times where I have 2 officers working. It's only 1 car on the road. And I have no say in what we're doing with that. That's policy driven and a huge liability for us until the recruits meet the 2, 4, and 6 month marks. They have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that they're going to be up to stuff before we sign them off on their 6 months, at which time they can be on call, be in their own vehicle, be trusted to kind of take the calls on their own with a little bit of oversight. Fortunately, we're getting some pretty good recruits. Most have a pretty good head on their shoulder. And I have no concerns that way. It's just being patient. So that was our pressure into June. May was the only time I threw a recruit in his own vehicle. He didn't have a choice because of the forest fire. So that was a pretty strenuous time for us where most of the guys that were working, I know myself, I worked 2 days straight with no sleep just because we had to evacuate as well. Not only community, but we had to evacuate ourselves. So it put a lot of strain on us. And it took probably a couple weeks after the fact to get everything back to normal. It took me about 3 days to get the detachment to the point where we could open up at 8 a.m. and be functional again. So fortunately, some of our partner agencies kicked in and helped us out. I know Lee's crew helped out as well as the sheriff's and Fish and Wildlife. So that really helped until we could front load some staff from down south where we called in a lot of overtime members to help with road checks to lock down everybody's residences or certain neighborhoods. Because once we evacuate, it's our job to make sure that nobody goes in to loot or obviously get in any danger. So so that created a lot of stress into us in May and June. And other than that, I'm pretty pleased though. Most of our guys are out there when they can be. And Lee also reports to me as well, whatever his guys are doing. So I keep track of the enforcement contacts on the enforcement side. I'm not a big proponent of everybody going out there and just blanketing a bunch of tickets. We're more focused on those aggressive drivers, the problem drivers, habitual offenders, we call them with the driving world. So the guys that are speeding excessively, maybe cutting people off, doing high risk drive that might be a safety issue to everybody else on the road. And we rely on a lot of people calling in, which we do get a lot. And generally we do intercept those vehicles because a lot of people are following them. And if we can get an officer in that area to intercept them, whether it's somebody weaving, maybe I would say most times it's just somebody that wasn't paying attention, that's not really impaired. Still gives us a way to check and keep everybody on their toes if they are driving. We've had a couple there where we made people, you're gonna have to pull over and rest a little bit. And it wakes them up as well, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, geez, yeah, that is a little risky for me to be doing that. So not always enforcement, but just the presence out there is what I want to see. Overall, we want to reduce to have no fatalities in our area. I can honestly say that we've been fairly low. I haven't been to any this year yet. So we'll see. Yeah, and that includes animal strikes too. A lot of people, if they pick up the speeds at night, set the cruise at 120, 130 on the double lane, they're still smoking the moose because they don't have time to see them. And that leads to really tragic things at one time. The other priority is just our high visibility. I want police in the community. And it's not just patrolling, it's at the events that are going on. And really, I guess, provide that sense to people that we are part of the community and we do want to be engaged with everybody. And it gives people the opportunity to approach an officer and say, hey, I have this incident in my neighborhood. What should I be doing? Gives that one-on-one, and it's a lot better than I guess hearing a lot of things after the fact where maybe things stew or maybe some advice could be given, or if somebody called the police and they had a question, how do you guys get dispatched? Anything like that provides a lot of good PR for us. Some of the community events we went to over the first priority or the first quarter. Had all my guys that were around to go to the big Gord Bamford concert. And they said that was phenomenal. major sellout and huge for the area. They were impressed. Buffalo Lake Rodeo, that's always a big event for us. Never usually a problem, but we do bring in the extra staff, and I paid some guys a little extra to be just visible on the highways, just to circumvent some of the traffic control. But I know Stan out in Buffalo, he's always ecstatic about the success that's grown, and every year it's getting bigger and bigger. So very good for the area to bring in that kind of influx of people as well. Indigenous Days, we were out there, Tracy was as well, and that was great. That was a honor of mine to even be out there. So I was pretty appreciative that we got the invite to be out there. High school grad and Boyle, religiously, we lead the parade, and we're very proud of the kids that make the achievements they do in our area, and big proponent of people pushing their education. So for us to be there, it's an honor. Met with all the councils, including Buffalo Lake over that quarter as well, just giving you guys some updates. I don't see any issues that are rising, other than obviously everybody knew about the forest fire. That was just a unforeseen circumstance that we had to, everybody really pulled together. And I know Travis from the county with the fire chief there, he was flying, and everybody said that we did a good job, and I'm really humbled to say we were just one component, but my hat's off to the fire personnel. I mean, they're phenomenal. And the other guys I wanted to really tip my hats off to is the line workers for the power company. If anybody can do a better job of putting in 200 and some power poles in a day, have at her, because I didn't even think that was possible. But it was phenomenal, and those guys just it's expected that they're working in the ditch. What I did as well as Lee with his guys is we did patrol the areas where the workers were working, just to make sure that they were being safe as well, and give them that comfort that if there is some cars going by, we got your back. And it went a long way too, and they really did thank us. So yeah, that was going into there. The rest of it, I did split down all the contacts we had with the community, so you knew specifically what we did and where we were. If you have any questions, let me know. I keep track of that myself, so I can know that everybody is, I don't want all our efforts being focused in one area. So I want Buffalo Lake to be represented. I want the village of Boyle. I also want the county to be represented. So we're not just always out in the county and maybe not in the village. So I try to spread the love around everywhere that we can. So let me keep going. Yeah, as far as staffing levels, so like I said, I had some stress going into summer. I'm still vacant a corporal position, but I'm happy to announce that we did fill it. So I'll have a corporal since Gavin dumped me. We got a new corporal coming in. She is in the process of buying acreage in the county, and speaking with her, she's coming from Deborah-Wabasca. Very happy to come here. Very busy up there, so I think she's happy to kind of establish some good roots. So she comes with 3 dogs and a boyfriend. That's all I know so far, but if she's looking to buy an acreage, yeah, I think she's hunkering down for the long term here, which is good win for us. And that's somebody that I can mentor, groom. And my aspiration is if they want to do long term here, eventually I'll groom them in for my spot, because I won't be here forever. And obviously I'm not the youngest chicken in the coop anymore either. So if I can groom that person to stay here and know the area really well, yeah, it'll be a win-win for the whole area. So the recruits that I had, one came from Wetaskiwin. So he quit being a school teacher to join us. So very intelligent fella. Going to be dealing with some different clientele than he's used to. But I have a good feeling already. He's smart as a whip, so it's good. Another French speaking fellow we have, so he's a bilingual position. We were identified to have a bilingual person here. So he came to us. He knows Spanish, English, and French. His name is JP, but it's Juan Pablo Carina Pineda. So right away, I said, how about JP? And he goes, that's good. So I call him JP because his name tag can't fit everything. So very good fella, and I've had good comments from the community where he's been at Wildberry Days and some of the activities and just his interaction with people. He's a fairly humorous kid. And when I say he's a kid, because he's only 22. So I think a lot of the schools, once we get involved with the school assignments, I think he's gonna have a lot of fun with the kids. My other guy came from Revenue Canada. So he was 7 years with Revenue Canada in Ontario. And he did a lot of fraud investigations, so it's a win for us. He seems to be getting a lot of fraud files given to him from his coworkers. And he's by no means are we investigating every single fraud. We don't have the time. But if there's something where we can do a production order, somebody got ripped off through Kijiji. If we do a production order, we can determine where that person might be or where the account is. If it's some account that's, within Alberta, well, yeah, we'll go after the fella. So there's things we're trying to do behind the scenes with some of the expertise that we're getting in the office. My goal, moving into this quarter, I've already made some contacts with the schools myself. I know Samuel took over Boyle School. He's the new principal. Everybody else has stayed the same. So I've only been able to hit Caslan and Boyle, personally speaking with the administrators there. So they're all happy. They know I'm still the same guy. And I assured them we're going to have officers in the schools for visitations, events. However, my thing is I got to get these guys signed off on their own vehicles and up to speed on their training. So it's probably going to delay a bit into the October. Having said that, we're also cognizant of the teacher pay scenario. So we're hoping that gets resolved so the school remains interrupted. So that's what we're looking at doing into the quarter two. And I'll speak to I guess some of the stats and stuff for quarter two when quarter two comes. Otherwise, I won't have much to talk about. So, as far as April, May, June, I'm not too concerned. Most of the stats are on par. We are doing not too bad. Fortunately, we got some rain after the fires became problematic, and the summer did seem to be a bit better for us. So we were pretty happy. Going into the summer, though, I gotta say that the community events that we were participated in, especially the Wildberry Days, stuff like that, it drew in massive crowds of people, which was always awesome to see. I spoke to lots of people from Airdrie all over Alberta, and they were, for such a small area, they were blown away that we had such a good showing of community support, and they've never seen police officers play hockey in the street. So I said, well, we're better than Calgary police. So if you have any questions, let me know, but I'll leave it at that, where it's just a snapshot. And then obviously you got the pamphlets that we had in the note as well. So
Right on. Well, that's a good report. I think, any questions or great work out there. I can understand trying to get into the schools, but you do have to train your people, and that's, you know what, you're doing your best. And that's awesome. So all good.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your report, and again, appreciation all the way. It's so nice to see when all of you come out to all the different events and we see you. And again, the hockey in the street, I thought that was just fantastic. We had our CPO Ollie out there as well. And the amount of excitement that comes from those kids during that time is phenomenal. Again, great work that we're seeing out there, and the visibility is definitely being noticed and appreciated a lot. I know people are thrilled to pieces with our RCMP detachments that we have here, and we'd just like to thank you very much for all the work that you do.
I apologize too. Jason was very integral with the fires for us. He punched as many hours as we did. So my hat's off to him. And as far as Wildberry Days, I think he played the most hockey.
That's fun.
My excuse was I actually blew my ankle out about 3 days before that. So I had a tough time walking, but it felt good with my boot on. So I was kind of standing around just walking slow. But the good news was I was on 2 weeks holidays after, and I had to take doctor's order and rest my leg for 2 weeks, but it's better now, but yeah, no, Jason is phenomenal. I felt bad for him because I told him to take a break and he's like, oh, I'm good, so.
I think the smile on his face and the excitement that he was exuding that day was, yeah, he wasn't going to give it up. It was a great day and it's been great to see out on all those events. So again, thank you.
Councillor Anderson?
Just wanted to comment that you did give a few of the grandparents a heart attack by allowing children to color on a police cruiser. They were quite concerned until they seen that the cops were actually allowing that.
Yeah, if it's any consolation, I did determine that the black trim on police vehicles, it isn't removable. Fortunately, it was a vehicle that I just actually took to cative. I didn't have the heart to leave it as is, so I did wash it. But we did trade that vehicle out for something brand new, so that one's going to be pastured anyway, so.
Right on. Yes, it was great work, so. Mr.
Yeah, good morning and thanks for the invite again. What I'm gonna provide you is just our statistics, our stats, tickets for lack of better words. From June until yesterday. So I'll just get right into it. Put my glasses on, I'm getting old. So in that snapshot, we did a total of my unit, did a total of 12 impaired drivers. And one of which was a drug impaired driver, which we picked up in the just south of the town of Athabasca. I was summoned to attend because I'm a drug recognition expert, have been since 2011, and conducted a drug impaired evaluation on the driver. And the driver performed poorly, which means I formed the opinion that the ability to operate a conveyance was impaired by a drug. We seized urine from that driver and sent it off to the lab, and it came back and confirmed my call. So that driver was subject to some driver's license sanctions and a vehicle impoundment. Call came in from the public about that driver that had gone off the road and basically was parked up against a fence post. It wasn't really a crash, but I think due to the downside of one of the methamphetamines, basically it's one of the impairing factors. Not to get into too much detail, but if you take something like a stimulant like cocaine or methamphetamine, the body tries to achieve what's called homeostasis, and it's like an equal in the body. So the stimulant would drive it up, and the other side of the body is trying to pull it down to have that balance. And then when you come off the drug, you basically double down. So it almost looks like somebody's on something like a narcotic, like heroin or fentanyl or something like that, although it's a stimulant. So it's things in the DRE world that we know and not too many other people know. So yeah, so that was one significant one there. So so in that 3-month snapshot, my crew here issued 28 seatbelt violation tickets. And with regards to speed, I do have something here that's quite significant that I'd like to share with you. We did 237 speed tickets in that 3-month period. However, you may have seen me in the school zone yesterday, Ashton, at 20 after 8.
All figures.
So as you can see before you there, that's a picture of my radar head inside my unmarked police vehicle. And my speed is in the green there at 28 kilometers an hour. And this was yesterday in the Boyle School Zone at just about 20 after 8. In the red, you can see the violator's speed. Yesterday morning. So that violator was doing 117 kilometers an hour in the 30 zone.
In the actual school zone,
In the
coming, going east.
You can see in the photo, you can see the schools to the right. Buses were, there was one bus in dropping children off. There was a few children walking up the sidewalk, which is on the other side of the ditch there. And there was also buses coming as I was roadside with this violator. So the violator, although it's a British Columbia license plate, was from Lac La Biche. And that person was issued a summons to appear in court to October 28th in Boyle. So almost quadruple the speed limit. So I thought that was significant that I'd share with you.
Yeah.
My record in the school zone was 90 until this 117. Sure, yeah.
This is shocking, obviously, extremely shocking.
I was shocked.
You were thinking probably, is there something wrong with my machine? In these scenarios, summons to appear in court, but in the meantime, are they still able to drive? Are they, their vehicle's not impounded, their license isn't suspended?
Yeah, like I said before on the previous meetings, I have 14 years in British Columbia, and in 2010 they brought in the immediate roadside prohibition called the IRP system, which encompassed excessive speed, aggressive driving, people doing stunts and that sort of thing. So a part of that legislation that was brought in 2010, which I'm a subject matter expert in, this type of behavior was so something like this in British Columbia would be an automatic 7-day impoundment. And yeah, the vehicle's towed. Their license is not suspended as per the Motor Vehicle Act in British Columbia. However, the continuation of the offense is stopped by the vehicle being impounded. I will honestly say that it was a little difficult for me to give back this driver's license and issue a summons and say, have a nice day, drive safely, when somebody's quadruple the speed limit. Had there been other factors, yeah, you could probably go criminal for dangerous operation. I didn't feel like that fit the bill here yesterday. I mean, if circumstances were different, for sure. Yeah, it's difficult coming from that. And in British Columbia, when they implemented these impound laws in 2010, they wanted to reduce the roadway fatalities by 50% by 2016. Well, they achieved that by the end of 2013, and they reduced the roadway fatalities by, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 56%. So they were 3 years ahead of their goal. And as a traffic member, I've been a traffic member for almost 17 years. It was hard to get these aggressive drivers anymore because drivers knew the legislation and they knew what the penalties were and they knew that they'd lose their vehicle. So I would go out on a long weekend and get 16 impounds, and then the next long weekend I wouldn't get any because people learn. The drivers were learning and they didn't want to lose their vehicle because it costs a lot of money, especially if you're traveling to and from somewhere and you're halfway there and now you're on foot. So we do have a duty to accommodate, to take them to somewhere close, like a restaurant or a gas station. We just don't leave them stranded in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, it hit hard and fast, and people started to learn, and you know, the roads were safer. And I wish to one day hopefully see something like that in Alberta.
So in bringing that legislation forward, was that initiative of local governments? Was it initiative of the RCMP? How did the legislation come forward?
It was the provincial government which initiated with the Road Safety BC, so it'd be, you know, Alberta Road Safe. And you know, has to go through the ministerial readings and orders and everything to be implemented.
Okay.
So it's a way higher pay grade than I make, but yeah, it's just food for thought. Hopefully they can someday bring something like this into effect, because you know, it quadruple the speed limit almost here. Like I say, it was disheartening to give back the license and have a nice day, drive safely, because it didn't really stop the continuation of the offense. I'm sure it did, because there was some tears shed, but yeah, it was difficult.
Very difficult. Well, we appreciate you being there at that time. Hopefully it will be a hard lesson learned for that person.
Yes. So moving on. Yeah, I just want to get back to the impaired there. Like the drug impaired driver, you know, just you know, information for everybody, especially in the public and that. Like I know cannabis was one of the impairing factors in this investigation as well. And I know cannabis and alcohol are legal to buy now. You can purchase it you know, legally. However, drug like cannabis is still impairing, like, you know, as to compare it to alcohol. If you drink so much alcohol, you will be impaired. Well, if you smoke some cannabis, you will be impaired. So just to be cognizant of that cannabis is an impairing drug, and not to drive if you've been smoking it or eating gummies or what have vape in it or what have you. In the area, my members, including myself, issued 14 cell phone tickets. So you will see us hiding in alleyways and parking along the side of the streets and stuff because we have to be a little bit sneaky, for lack of better words, to find these. Other traffic charges, which include careless driving, so intersection infractions, so stop signs, prohibited driving, and other moving offenses like no insurances and stuff like that. We issued 73 violation tickets. And then liquor and cannabis offenses, so cannabis not being packaged properly or illicit, unstamped tobacco, and liquor within reach. We issued 18 violation tickets with that. So a reminder that if you buy a case of beer or bottle of whiskey, it can't be sitting on the passenger seat or within the driver's reach. So if it's behind the driver's seat on the floorboard and you can reach it, that's a ticket. So it needs to be out of reach. So in the back, if you can, in the trunk, secured. During that time period, we did 506 mandatory alcohol screenings. So we did a total of 12 road checks in that time period. So that's doing road checks and approaching the drivers as they roll up and doing the mandatory alcohol screening on the proof screening devices. We assisted the combined total of these two detachments 48 times in that time period. We were summoned to conduct two qualified technicians, so breath tech on 2 occasions for impaireds. And the Boyle area, so myself, including Dennis's office, we will have our body worn cameras after October the 7th. We take the training on October 7th. We've done all the online courses, which are quite long, but they are going to be a good tool for us, I think. And I'm excited to don one here shortly. The only thing up in this year's comparison to previous years, because it has like a trend final report here, is the impaired driving seems to be on the rise. And I don't know if that's us being out there more, or could be a combination of us being out there more, a combination of the public being more alert to these types of drivers and phoning them in. So accolades to them, the public, for that, because we can't be everywhere. So although it's bad, it's good that we managed to get these people off the road. So I don't think I missed anything.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
He did,
Yes, unfortunately, I had to put a coyote down this morning, just along the highway. I think it was up tree eating some apples, and it fell and got wedged in there. It had a compound fracture in its left hind leg, and the crows were pecking away at it, and it was still alive. So I had to dispatch it.
Right on. Well, thank you very much for everything. Real quick.
Sorry. Like, do you have the right to ask me to show you my cigarettes or whatever if they're?
We have something what's called plain view. So if we can see it, and we know the brands, it's those Canadian classics that are unstamped tobacco. You can buy it online. I know there's some black market sales out there that people are selling from their homes. Yeah, like if it's called a plain view doctrine, so if we can see it, it's in plain view, we're not being evasive, then for sure. Like if I can see a Canadian classic in your pocket, I can ask you to pull that out.
Okay, good, thanks.
Right on. Well, thank you very much. We are so far behind that we think we're ahead. And thank you very much for all your reports. I know we got to start making more time in the schedule for you guys. Because it's great information to have for, and being that we're in the public domain and everything's being recorded. It's huge amount of information that's very important for everybody to be able to hear. So thank you for all the great work and everything. And I think our Reeve wants to ask a question.
You're just in saying that, the photo that was sent around, I don't, Councillor Kaptanic wouldn't have been able to see it. But as you mentioned, 28, it was your speed and 117 was clocked is just scary. You know, so, as you mentioned, this is being recorded and hopefully the public are, paying a little more closer attention to that Boyle School, area.
Yeah,
So my question with that is there, and I should know this, but I don't. So, is there more warning coming up to that school zone further down the highway?
yeah, so
Can that be
this,
improved?
this vehicle is in a westbound direction, so heading towards Boyle from Lac La Biche, and so approximately 500 meters prior to the school zone, it changes. There's a 50-kilometer warning sign, and then there's a 50 zone. And then that 50 zone's probably, 300-400 meters long until the school zone. And the school zone signs are up that say school 30 kilometers an hour, but also to that, there's a big white line that's about a foot wide that's painted right across the asphalt. And prior to that, for the westbound driver, there's approximately 1 meter by 3 meter wide painted white where it says school on the asphalt. This driver missed all those. So they missed the 50 reduced sign, the 50 sign, the school zone painted on the schools on the asphalt, the big white line, and the school zone sign.
Short of flashing.
Clear sunny day. So,
Right.
and yeah, and there was buses and kids there. So, and lots of parents pulling into the school to drop their children off. So I'm glad I was actually there.
Absolutely. No, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Again, keeping the roads safe is very much appreciated as I cannot express the gratitude enough for what you all do. So thank you so very much.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much for all you guys do. And at times it can be a very, very tough job that you guys have. And thank you for doing it. So I guess on that note, we'll take a break. We got another delegation right after and
Before we break,
Oh,
actually, before we let you
yeah.
guys, before we go, we did receive your email. Thank you very much with regards to canvassing communities and counties to determine if they wish to meet with the CAO, or the CO, pardon me, crops officer and yourself at the RMA and AUMA meetings in November. So that's something we will have a conversation about before our next delegate as well. So thank you very much for sending that and passing on that invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. we're back up and running here. So while we're still haven't totally signed out at 4.1, we'll, I think, Reeve Holland's got a motion she wants to put forward to send to council, right?
Thank you. Yes, a recommendation to council. As we heard in in the report from the RCMP, talking about the Protect DNA initiative. And the way I see, anytime that we are able to assist our residents as well as the RCMP to combat property theft, I believe it's super important to support those current initiatives. And Protect DNA in the research that I've been doing has been proving to be a benefit in other jurisdictions. So I would like to throw it out there as a motion to recommend to County Council that Athabasca County donate $1,000 from the grants to groups budget to the Athabasca RCMP detachment for the Protect DNA marketing initiative, or marking initiative. I believe in that budget, the grants to groups budget, we never have seemed to spent that entirely throughout our term. We always end up with a surplus there. So I think that that would be a good place to consider that budget to come out of for that funding. And just wanted to put it out there for council to the committee to think about to transfer this forward to
Okay,
county council meeting.
thank you very much on that. Any discussion on that motion? To recommend to county council? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
That's 4 and 2.
And then we have a secondary motion with regards to the email that we received, 4.1.
Okay,
And that would be to recommend that the conversation to determine a meeting at the RMA with the CO Props Officer. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tony was also going to be there. But yeah, just to recommend to County Council that we have that conversation of if the new council would like to meet with the RCMP and any topics that they would like to discuss.
okay. Any discussion on that? When to move to county council? All in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
That's 4 and 2 again. Approved. So, okay, so I guess we're gonna move on to our next delegation, which is Portage College. Ms. Broadbent, President and CEO. Welcome very much here. Sorry we're so late and everything. We'll go around and we'll introduce ourselves first, and then we'll let you, and I see you know how to run the mic there, which is perfect. So okay, Councillor Gerlach, you want to start us off?
Good morning, Joe Gerlach, Rochester, Perryville area, Division 1. Nice to meet you.
Good morning and welcome, and thank you so much for coming here today. Tracy Holland, Division 5 Councillor, which is east of Athabasca, as well as Reeve for the county.
Good morning, Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3, which is the Boyle Cathlon area.
And on Zoom, I see we
Good
lost,
morning, it's Brian Hall. I reside in Division 4.
and we lost Councillor Kapitaniak. So Rob Mins, Division 8, Baptiste Lake Island Lake area. Jordan Schinkelberg, our communications coordinator, and Tammy Plerd, the recording secretary. And again, sorry about that, but thank you. Take it away, Ms. Broadbent.
That's just fine. Thank you very much for giving me a few minutes on your agenda today. I don't have a really detailed presentation. You may know that I had reached out back in the spring to come and talk to council, and this was the first time that we could make the schedules work. But so really what I'm here is to just share a small update on that, and then hear from you if that's okay on any feedback you might have. So quick update, I'll start with the broadest picture. The new president of Portage College is starting October 1st, Dr. Stephen Price. Really excited as is the rest of the college to welcome him. And I think one of the plans for he and I are to come out before I leave and do a presentation, which would be our regular full update, and give you a chance to meet him as well. So what I had originally requested to come and talk about was the closure of the heavy equipment operator program at the Boyle campus, which we did back last spring. But I wanted, mainly, I guess my way of being is that when you have bad news, it's good to get out here and face it, right, with people and get some feedback from you, and I guess dispel any myths that there might be. So just really quick, the rationale for the decision was twofold. One of, and probably the most important one, is that probably around a third or less of our students were getting jobs out of that program. And our program advisory committee, which was largely industry-based, identified that there wasn't a shortage of staff and that their priority is to choose people with experience over students. So we can't in good consciousness be charging, and that program was very expensive, the tuition that we did, and students are not getting jobs. So that was in spite of a change that we did back in 2022, where we built a huge placement component, hoping that that would improve students' ability to get jobs. Didn't happen. The second reason for our decision is more of a longer term and financial viability one. Assuming folks maybe have been following a bit on the news, and I'm sure in your particular situation, you also are aware of the province's messaging around funding. The college does a 3-year budget, like a forecast out 3 years, to allow us longer term planning on things. And we are anticipating a deficit in 26-27. That's assuming the provincial funding is flat, which the signal is it may not be. And it's largely due to the fact that we were able to shore up financial situation with our public-private partnerships in international students. And I'm assuming folks might know a bit of that background as well, where the international student market is, I guess, drying up for our industry, for, in a short way of describing it. So the program itself, given the low enrollments, which we believe were largely due to the lack of jobs, meant that the program was costing us about $500,000 a year net of tuition, and that was to serve 8 learners. So when you're looking at financial deficits going forward, it's pretty tough to continue to subsidize a program to that level. But what we have committed, and I've been out to meet with the Village of Boyle, is that we are not closing the campus. There is a camp there that we will be divesting of. We're trying to donate it, actually, and we may have someone interested. And that's just because it is very, very old and students were not wanting to stay in it anymore. And of course, with that kind of a facility, it brings the need to have staffing there to oversee it, right, when people are living on campus. So what we have talked about with the Village of Boyle so far is at least getting some continuing education rolling, and then launching a review to figure out what is the next best and sustainable program for the Boyle campus. We haven't landed on anything yet, but we've been talking about everything from emergency response scenario planning, like we did in Collington, that kind of a thing, although maybe more focused on heavy industry. And then we've also talked about sustainable agriculture and research related to food sustainability. So that was really all I wanted to present. And I just wanted to be here in case you guys are hearing things, or in case you're concerned, so that I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And first thing, I'm just going to cut in real quick here. I had the opportunity to be at the convocation this spring, and what a beautiful event. And I want to thank you very much for inviting us there. And I'd be very much willing to come back next year and have a peek, because it's a great event. the ceremony coming in and the parade coming in and going out was very just beautiful. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
On that note, I'm sure the Reeve Holland's got some questions.
Yes, oh, sorry, I have my mic on. Yeah, the big signal. Thank you so much for being here and giving us that information with regards to, you know, the Boyle campus and whatnot. It's completely understandable on the direction that you have to go for dealing with those types of things. And just a comment, Portage does amazing work. You have a beautiful campus in Lac-La-Biche, gorgeous. And there is a lot of positive comments that I hear about Portage College. So thank you. And for all the work that you're doing there. You will be very sorely missed. And
Thank you for
you're
saying that.
a legend. So thank you very much for all the work you've done.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions or anything? It's too bad that campus kind of shut down. It's funny, I remember back in the road building days, if you had even an old trailer to live in, it was a bonus, right? So
Yeah.
but no, it's as times progress, that's what happens. And thank you for trying to find something else to happen in there, because we don't want to lose that in the community. It's a great thing to have. So
Thank you. Yeah, we will. And when I come back out with Dr. Stephen Price, we'll give you a bit of like a broader update on how the college is doing, but still enrollments are looking very positive this fall, and a number of our new programs that we launched went well, and a couple of them we need to get a little more marketing out or something. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'll give you all that when I come back.
perfect. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. And on that note, we'll take about a few minutes break here to look at the next delegation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
Could you give us a time?
Oh, why don't we come back in about 3, 4, give us 5 minutes, 20 after 11. Okay, so we're gonna fire back up here and come in with our new, our next delegation from the, to discuss McKinney Limited to discuss Athabasca Regional Housing Needs Report. And, good morning, welcome. And, we'll go around, we'll introduce ourselves and then we'll hand the mic over to yourself and to give us a report. So go ahead, Mr. Gerlach.
Good morning, Joe Gerlach, Division 1, Rochester Periville area.
Good morning, Tracy Holland, Counselor for Division 5, which is east of Athabasca, Paxton, Amber Valley areas, as well as Reed the Athabasca County.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3, which is the Boyle-Caslin area.
And on
Morning.
Zoom.
Joining you on Zoom, Brian Hall. I reside in Division 4.
And again, good morning, Rob Mintz, Division 8, Baptist Lake Island Lake area. Joining us also is Mr. Jordan Schinkelberg, the Communications Coordinator, and Recording Secretary Tammy Plerd, and our CAO, Mr. Bob Beck. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know the information.
Yeah, you bet. Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me to your do a presentation. My name is Andrea Rudiger. I'm the project manager and planner with McElhaney Limited, and we conducted the regional Athabasca housing needs report. So we've wrapped up the report and the project, and this is just an opportunity to present a little bit of information and provide some time for you to ask any questions that you may have. So I do have a short 5 to 10 minute presentation here that I'd like to run through, and then I have time for questions at the end if that works for everyone.
You betcha. Thank you.
All right, I will share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yep, you bet.
Fantastic. All right, so I'll just do full screen here. So today's presentation, I'd just like to give a bit of an overview of the project, run through the methodology and the projected needs that we found. We also did conduct a number of public engagement sessions, so I'll provide a summary on the public engagement as well as the key findings. And then I'll conclude with some recommendations and some regional opportunities for the county, Athabasca County, the town of Athabasca, and the village of Boyle. So this project started back in March of this year, 2025, and we started with a background analysis. We were engaged by the town of Athabasca, and it was our understanding that it was a joint project between Athabasca County, the town of Athabasca, and the village of Boyle to provide an understanding of the housing landscape within Athabasca County, the village, and the town. So we took some time, we understood the background and took a look at some of the Statistics Canada information and data that was available, and then we drafted a housing needs report based on that information. We then brought the report out to the public in June. A very important part of this work is just understanding the perspectives of the public, because the data will give us preliminary information, but it of course cannot provide the full picture. So we came out and did a number of engagement sessions in June. And then from that public engagement, we refined the housing needs report over the last few months. And here we are in September, wrapping up the project. So as I noted, we were engaged in early March to start this off, and the idea here is really just to provide an understanding of the housing environment within the region and how municipalities, Village of Boyle, Town of Athabasca, and the county can work together on some strategic housing decisions in the future. So we did use a mixed method approach here, where we combined quantitative data, reviewing Stats Canada census data, CMHC data, as well as the HART tool for housing needs assessments, as well as qualitative insights from community engagement. We did find that the data and the qualitative results aligned, which is nice, because then we know that we're on the same page and the things that we're looking at are in fact the experiences that the community is having. Through our assessment lens, so we did use an assessment lens of affordability, adequacy, and suitability. And we looked at things like cost versus income, Adequacy evaluates any major repairs needed within the housing ecosystem, and then suitability is the bedroom count versus the household size. And I'll provide some findings at the end here. So we did have a few limitations. There was some suppressed data to smaller population size, and then qualitative feedback was used to fill in the gaps to invalidate some of these trends where data wasn't available. So projected needs, what we did find throughout our statistical data analysis, that growth in 1 and 2 person households was prevalent within both the town, village, and then the county as well. So we're seeing a shrinking of 3 and 4 person households down to smaller households, and then lower to moderate income groups. There was a growth in those population bases as well, which indicates a need for affordable rentals, seniors housing, and a diversity of housing types. So we're seeing a lot of larger homes that are maybe more suitable for 3 or 4 person households that are being occupied by single 1 or 2 person households. So there's a mismatch in housing availability here because we just don't have the smaller units that are available for folks within the region. So we took a lot of this data out to the public here. This is an example of some of our public engagement. We did participate in an open house at the Athabasca Multiplex in early June, as well as we had a few pop-in sessions at the library. And then we attended the Village of Boyles Farmers Market as well. And people were able to contribute in person as well as online. We had an online survey that ran from the beginning of June until the end of July to gather some of the feedback from a number of different population bases. As you can see, we did get quite a lot of feedback, and it was we had some very positive conversations. We had concerns raised by residents, and we were able to gather a lot of qualitative data from these conversations. So some of the things that we heard was a desire for smaller units, again, with that mismatch of people staying in their homes longer because they don't have places to go, especially seniors. We found there's not a lot of seniors housing and availability of units that would be suitable for 1 and 2 person households. We also heard rental options for students was a very limited resource within the region. So having more rental opportunities was something that the community voiced, as well as, wanting to see more multifamily development in some of these central areas. So areas that already have services available. There was a desire to see something like apartment buildings or townhouses in those kind of areas. Another thing that we heard was transportation options were very, very limited. So if you don't have a vehicle, it is difficult to get around within the town as well, especially within the county. So those are some challenges in terms of establishing housing, as transportation was something that goes hand in hand with housing quite often. So key findings, I've kind of alluded to this, but there's definitely a housing mismatch. So the dominance of these single family detached homes versus an increase in 1 and 2 person households. So we're seeing younger folks move away from the region and seniors staying in the area, but then there's nowhere for them to really downsize to and make their housing options more affordable. We're also seeing limited seniors housing, so accessible age-friendly housing. As people start to age, there's a lack of options for both retrofitting their current housing situation or moving into an area or a unit that might be more accessible and age-friendly. And then there's a lack of assisted living and transitional options for seniors as well. From our engagement, we heard numerous affordability challenges. So very low income housing. So 100% of people in low income housing are in what we call core housing needs. And that's when they're spending more than 30% of their income on housing. So very challenging for folks that are on the lower income spectrum to be able to meet their housing needs. And then the high cost of rent and utilities and maintenance is also pushing people into affordability challenges. And then the final point that we had was the aging housing stock. So the majority of housing within the region was built before 2001. And we're starting to see a need for repairs, accessibility issues, and then energy inefficiency within these older homes. Just as time moves forward, there's not a lot of options for people upkeeping their house. So we have provided a number of recommendations. Now, any of these recommendations could be used within the county itself, but we have tried to split it out based on the village, the town, and the county. So specifically for the county, we're looking at opportunities to diversify into smaller housing options. So that could include smaller homes or introducing accessory dwellings in some of these rural areas, which would allow for, maybe multi-generational living opportunities or people to be moving into smaller secondary suites that are still within the property itself. And then for aging residents, looking at consolidating seniors housing within Boyle or within the town of Athabasca or some of the smaller hamlets, may be a strategy that could support diversifying the housing options. And then finally, we do have a few opportunities for regional housing opportunities. So because this was a joint housing needs study between the 3 municipalities, these are all strategies that could work together and just really support housing for the region itself. So establishing something like a regional seniors housing strategy may be something that could really help the seniors within the area and establish a number of different housing forms that currently don't exist within the region. Looking at something like a joint rental housing development. So this could be more partnerships, and then proposing to build sort of a central rental housing system where people would be able to easily find rental properties and then share capital costs across the 3 regions, and potentially look at applying for some of the federal grant funding that's available through the CMHC Housing Fund. And then finally, our third recommendation is a shared secondary suite or retrofit program. So a lot of the houses that we are seeing that were built pre-2001 are decaying and becoming a little bit less livable. So something like that would be able to support residents in upgrading their current housing situation. And then a shared program would reduce the cost, the administration burden across the 3 municipalities. So that's all I have in terms of a presentation. I will stop sharing my screen here and open the floor up for any questions or comments.
Well, thank you very much for the information and everything. And is there any questions from council regarding this report? Councillor Hall.
Thank you for sharing the presentation. It's obviously very interesting. And I had 2 questions, I guess. Firstly, regarding the recommendations, are they based on qualitative or quantitative data?
It's so it's a combination. So when we started with this report, we looked at the quantitative data, and then the qualitative data supported the quantitative data. So it's both. It's recommendations based off the report findings themselves.
So you can tell us about how many assisted living or accessible housing units are required in the region?
Yeah, so within the report itself, we do show the numbers based on the CMHC data, and that information is all provided within the body of the report itself.
Okay, thank you. And then secondly, there's a comment about expanding and modernizing supportive living facilities. Can you just expand on what you mean by modernizing the facilities?
Yeah, so
what you're referring to there, please?
Yeah, for sure. So we'd spoken with, I believe it was the Greater North Foundation and some of their facilities that they had. They just spoke of some of the challenge that they had with, being able to continue funding and supporting their residents within their facilities. So upgrading or modernizing those facilities would be helpful, as well as expanding the number of units available, because we are finding there's quite long lists on wait lists to be able to get into some of these locations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. You spoke about a report, but we didn't receive a copy of it, did we? No.
I don't think we've received a report regarding this, the actual report itself.
Oh, okay. That report was submitted through, I think your planning department. Jennifer Kirkpatrick would have been our project connection on the county side, so I can follow up with her, and we have submitted the report, but maybe it didn't make it your way. So I will make sure that report is in your hands.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Counselor Anderson? No, okay. Okay,
I was going to say, I think, is it possible once we do receive a copy of the report that maybe with your contact information, if we do have any questions and whatnot, we'd be able to forward those to you?
Certainly. Yep. And I'd be happy to come back and do another presentation, or if you just like to have a one-on-one conversation, that works as well.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your presentation. As Councillor Hall mentioned, it is very interesting and I think beneficial to have this information. So really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
okay. Any other questions for the presenter? Seeing none, okay, I want to thank you very much for the initial contact here, and then once we see the actual report, there'll probably more questions and
Certainly.
and we'll reach back out to you then. So thank you very much for and very sorry that we're late.
No,
Sorry
no
for-
problem at all.
You
I
betcha.
understand.
You bet. So okay, thank you very
Right.
much, and we will talk to you later.
Sounds great. Have a good day.
You bet. Okay. Bye. Okay, on that note, I guess once we receive or have a peek at the report, we'll probably like I said, have more questions or there'll be more information given out to council for sure. So where are we at? We got through our 3 delegations, which was awesome. And we were at the department updates, and I think we got through them. So now we'll move on to 5.3, the counselor updates. And what we can do is, why don't we change it up here a little bit? We'll start online. Counselor Capitan, you're back with us.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this other than regular council business this summer, we saw a lot of events in our community. I took part in volunteering in Boyle at the Hell on Hooves event with Councillor Anderson and Councillor Hall, and then also took part in volunteering at the musical ride with Councillor Wallach, and the Collington Community Society did take a break over the summer, but has reconvened, and we are now in the process of planning a harvest dance in October on the 18th. So it is all ages family dance, and Carly Bilski will also be performing as well. So that'll be really nice to have some local talent. If you are in the area, Mingo's Way will be down front of the hall providing food. You don't have to actually even be attending the dance to stop at the food truck, which is pretty cool. I do want to once again commend the teams that have been doing the mowing this summer. I feel like a lot of the residents have complimented the upkeep and how nice it is to have the big county-owned field where the railway tracks used to be maintained and not showing weeds as it has in the past. So that's really great. And that's pretty much it. Summer was just full of lots of things where everybody was active and getting together, and I really think that anyone that did miss a musical ride missed something pretty special. That was really great. That came to our community. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Hall?
As usual, I prefer most of my reports to come in the written submissions I provide, but I would also add a couple of weeks ago, the Greater North Foundation hosted a thank you and recognition barbecue for first responders that helped with the evacuation of the lodge facilities in Boyle. And that went off, of course, very seamlessly. And it was the evacuation did, that is, and it was a well-attended event by all the first responders there. And so their work at that time is certainly appreciated by the residents of the lodge in Boyle.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Anderson?
I got to spend some time with some residents at our lakes over the long weekend. That was really exciting. Getting to see what their struggles are with the boat launch. The immense pressure of so many people sitting around and watching you back up a boat. I just don't want that ever personally, but they did a fantastic job. I've also talked to residents from not only within Division 3, but down into Division 1 and through Division 4 and into Division 7, and have been told great things about our grader operators lately from a variety of people without prompting. And I just think that speaks volumes when people are volunteering praise for our operators. I think they really deserve that recognition, and great things are happening. And otherwise, things are gearing up at the multiplex. Things are starting to get busy with the ice back in and a new hockey team in town. And it's just so exciting. It's exciting seeing so many things happening. So kudos to everybody that's making those things happen.
I got one question on that. The new hockey team, when do they fire? Is there any program or when they fire up or kind of thing?
Is there any program? Why do you have to ask hard questions?
Sorry, I just haven't seen it
But yes, they have their main camp is September 26th and 27th at the Athabasca Multiplex.
Oh, good.
Information for that is on Facebook and on their website. And outside of that, please don't ask me any technical hockey questions because right up from my head.
You betcha. No, thank you for that. I've had a couple of people reach out to me and I said, well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So, but thank you. At least they can go to their website and have a PK.
I do know that they've scheduled all of their game ice time for the year.
Oh, good.
So
Okay, perfect.
they've got big plans. Things are happening.
You bet. Thanks a lot. Councillor Gerlach.
Yes, I guess things in Division 1 are really quite dry, like they might be other places as well. But nonetheless, harvest is proceeding and a lot of people are just about at the point where they're starting to wrap things up, which is incredible for this time of the month, this time of the year. Been a few long faces with people finally realizing that the school is closed and done, and a lot of long faces. And other than that, there's really, everybody's just been busy with the dry weather. There's nothing to hold you back. So people they're getting their work done and we're not seeing too much activity outside of that. So that's my report.
Perfect. Oh, thank you. Yes, it is very dry. So I totally agree with you. Reeve Holland.
Thank you so very much. I'll be quick. I know we're pressed for time. Since the last committee of the whole meeting, besides of course our regular council and committee meetings, I've been continuing to chat with residents and responding to their concerns, forwarding them of course on. The main concerns that I've been hearing of course are roads, but unfortunately it's washboard. We don't see it in Division 1 apparently, so we'll need to know your secret down there. Committee work has been busy as we come to the end of the term. Of course, trying to finish up all those projects that have been still on the action list. A trails report will be coming forward through to council to kind of get everybody up to speed on all of the work that's been going on, which has been extensive. I was also had the privilege of volunteering for a couple of different events. One, of course, was a casino for the Athabasca Recreational Trails Association at the end of August, as well as doing some grooming on some of those trails as well, which was really nice to be out there and to see how many people are using the trails and are appreciative of the care and that's going into them. Also been busy, of course, it's campaign season, so I've had also been answering a few questions from new potential candidates, which I thought was excellent to have this interest in our county and people coming forward with that. Harvest, of course, has been flat out, and so we're seeing a lot of that increased traffic and whatnot, but there's a lot of smiles. I'm hearing that the yields of the grain products and whatnot are way better than what we had anticipated earlier on, so that's awesome. August 26th was the FCSS Community Barbecue. Again, I mentioned it earlier, it was excellent. A really good event, and so cool to see all of the different supports and services that we do have here in the county. And it to be showcased it was awesome to see Colleton Fire Department as well to come down, and it was just a really neat event. So appreciate all of the work that's gone into that. September 10th, we had the RCMP meeting at the town. That was hosted by Staff Sergeant Hall and their invite. It was extremely informative, and really good information that came out of that. So we'll bring that forward as well. September 11th was a quick CEO meeting, and I'll have that conversation coming up and closed. Just so people are aware, tonight at 6 p.m., the Sturgeon County is hosting a grand opening for the Pinewood Trail, which is part of the Athabasca Landing Trail. So they're really excited about that. So there'll be an event happening there as well. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. More information to come.
Okay, perfect. And myself, yeah, lots of meetings and actually driving around looking at different projects in the county, and they're turning out just great, that I can see. And lots of stuff going on in Division 8, which is nice. What else is going on? A lot of meetings with as Reeve has said, with the RCMP. Very happy to see the water line moving ahead. It's been on the books for a while here, and now as watching it move ahead is actually very exciting. Even though it's still in the offices and that, but I can't wait to see a chunk of pipe put in the ground, and that, and yeah, it's just been a busy fall, and looking great at running into people, meeting up with people and having discussions and helping where I can. So yeah, other than that, status quo. So thank you for all your reports and everything. And all that fine stuff, and any other discussion required here? Don't see any hands up. Okay, so we can move on to we'll go on to business arising from the minutes, 6.1. I guess, is that going to be a longer discussion, or do we want to have a break now? I think the lunch is here. Lunch is here, so do we want to take a break and then come back to this after? Okay, well, why don't we take a lunch break from now till 12:15. That gives us just about a half an hour, a little over 25 minutes. Okay, so we'll see everybody at 12:15. Good, we're ready to go. Jordan, okay. Good afternoon. We'll get back to our committee of the whole meeting. Moving on to 6, Business Arising, Athabasca County Community Grants Program. So on that note, I guess administration, Ms. Kuzmirchuk, if you want to bring us up to speed on this, have a discussion on it.
Okay, thank you for having me here, honorable members of council. As council had asked, administration has prepared a sponsorship policy. And at that time, we also took to review all of our other community grants policies since our last review was in the 2000s. So we took a look at other municipalities in the province and what kinds of, how they were administering their policies and if there are any improvements that could be made. And so what you see before you is an overarching policy. And Councillor Chamsik had mentioned at a previous Cal meeting to look at Westlaw counties. And so you'll see there are similarities between them.
Sounds good. So you just want some input from council on what they feel? Okay, perfect. Betcha. So I guess on that, thank you for bringing that forward and looking at some at these policies and grants. All this that's awesome. So any discussion, Reeve Holland.
Thank you very much. This is awesome. And I think it's been a long time coming since we've had that review. So thank you for putting the work into it. I can imagine it was quite a task. So I really appreciate that. Just noticing, I was looking on page 83 of our agenda package with regards to the community halls. I was actually wondering, because I was doing a little comparison on I guess our website, but we have it for our community listing, our community directory. And I noticed there's a few halls that are missing from this list and was wondering if there was a reason for that. So the halls that are missing, and Councillor Chamsik also mentioned it as well, Prospita Hall is missing, as well as the Richmond Park Hall, the Rochester Community Hall, the South Athabasca Hall, and the Wandering River Hall. So those items are, as I mentioned, listed on our website under the community directory, but I'm just curious if there is some reason why they wouldn't be included in this particular grant for eligibility.
Honorable members of council. I did make note I did see in the tracker that Prospita and Richmond, they were not included. So I'll have to look back and get greater context on that.
Okay, I appreciate
yeah.
that. Thank you so very much. And then I was looking on page 85 under the local cemetery improvement program. And I've noticed over the years, it's been pretty stagnant at the $3,000 mark, and was curious if that's something that should be revisited considering costs are considerably going up. So I was thinking if, maybe that council might be interested in having that conversation to possibly increase the 3,000 to 3,500 or 4,000, especially since it's over a 2-year period. Just looking for some feedback around the table on what thoughts are here.
Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
I'd be in favor of raising that one. I don't think there's a lot that you can do for $3,000 anymore compared to when it was established. And I don't know, maybe like even $5,000 over 2 years. If they're improving a cemetery, chances are they're making less work for us in the maintenance side. So.
I like the 5, thank you. Yeah, just being conservative, didn't want to scare anyone.
Yeah, and I agree with that, especially when over a 2-year program. It's I know South Athabasca Cemetery is went into that that grant a couple of times, and we've done some great things in the cemetery regarding that. And I'm very thankful for it every time we use it. But as things, costs increase for anything, equipment, for merchandise, for anything like that. So increasing a little bit of, I don't think it's probably been increased in many, many years. So betcha.
Awesome. So on that note, do we need a motion for that, or is that something that we can bring forward, when the report or when the policy comes to council?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, we're making notes of this, so we expect it to come back with some changes. That's not a problem. And then just so you know that when we do bring this to council for adoption, we'll also be bringing motions to rescind the current policies so that we just have one policy, and these are under that umbrella.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So, just one last item, just a notice, page 86 of our agenda package, 4.7.11. It's under the cemetery one. It just has reference to county manager rather than chief administrative officer, just something super minor there. And otherwise, I really appreciate, like I say, the work that's gone into this. And it looks fantastic. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Gerlach.
I can understand the logic behind increasing funding because costs go up. But communities need to struggle a little bit, and you have to have a purpose, you have to have a project to go after, and sometimes they do better when they're raising some of that money themselves. There's a little more incentive and a little more feeling of accomplishments rather than just spending money that shows up. So just wow.
I think if I may just mention, I think most of the grants, you have to show your project and quotes and all of those things. Some, I believe if the cemetery, if I'm correct, the local cemetery improvement program, you have to put that money out, show that the work has been done, and then the invoice that comes with it can be then reimbursed to the group, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Yeah. So there is definite planning ahead of time for some of these projects. I know that a lot of the groups do a lot of fundraising as well, because as I mentioned, the 3,000 over 2 years doesn't go very far.
Okay, any other discussion? Councillor Anderson?
I had also noted the $3,000 for the local cemetery improvement program. And there's also a maximum of $3,000 per year for the outdoor skating rinks. Is that adequate for the needs of the committees that are doing that work? Or is that one also a cap that maybe hasn't kept up?
Well, through the chair to Councillor Anderson, I would say that it fluctuates, like it depends. Some years groups will submit more of their bills, and other times they'll totally, they'll just submit other bills. So I can look back and see if there is a greater need, but yeah, it may not be much more than 3,000, maybe 3,500. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, and I know there's a lot of volunteer hours and volunteer work that goes into our outdoor skating rinks, so. Great people doing great work. I had also noted item 4.4.3 on page 96 of the agenda package. I think that should be split into two sub-points. Just for clarity.
I'm sorry, Councillor Anderson, which ones were they again?
4.4.3.
Okay.
States community groups incorporated under the Alberta Societies Act, Agricultural Societies Act, or similar legislation can apply for funding over $1,000. And then it seems like it should be split. Unincorporated, not-for-profit, and volunteer community organizations can apply for funding up to $1,000. So just seemed like, yeah, they should be like 4.4.3 A and B maybe. Just so it's a little more user friendly, but overall, I really appreciate the time and effort that's gone into combining this into one policy that is easy to read and understand. And I've had made a note that administration's recommendation that if this was to move forward, they would like to develop a grants guidebook to assist these community groups was a great idea. So thank you very much.
Yes, well, good job. Superla.
Yeah, sorry to backtrack here, but when you're talking about Prospect Hall and whatever, that's still, it's Rochester Hall dismissed. That's still. Why we did not appear.
Through the chair to Councillor Gerlach, I'll have to look back and just double check and see why, but I know there is note in the grant tracker that some of them were not operating or there was something about the eligibility, but I'll double check first.
Okay, because it's been there for the last umpteen years.
Okay. Anybody else? Wanna discuss anything or? Somebody wanna do the recommended motion? So Reeve Holland has made the recommended motion that Athabasca County Community Grants Program be presented at a future county council meeting for approval. And any discussion? See none, all in favor?
Aye.
That's six. That's six for, and no opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for the great work, eh? Moving on to 7.1, service level review, page 114. That is a long report.
Mr.
Right.
Chairman, when last Mr. Rudick presented the level of service findings, we didn't include all the services, and the purpose of this report is to table all the services that we have. That's been identified. I think we've identified 166 different services. And also some of Mr. Rudick's his findings based on the criteria that were established at the start of the project. And they were, I believe, relevancy, alignment with strategic plan, effectiveness, and efficiency. So I think that those need some work, because I think maybe too much comparison back to the strat plan might have been done, and maybe some other factors need to be weighed in. And so I think we need some work on that about prioritizing and getting some action items and priorities from council. But we present all the information for you unedited so that you can see everything.
I think, yeah, and I want to thank you very much for that because it's a big report and there's lots to read and it actually identifies the services that we have out there that maybe some people didn't even know that we had, or it's identifying some services with council that possibly council might not want out there anymore, or even administration. So I think it's great and it's got a lot of reading value in it to understand what our services that we are providing. So it's not a report that's going to get put on the shelf and not looked at again. It'll be scrutinized and looked at, and from council to the public to everybody. So I think it's great to have.
The other thing to note, Mr. Chairman, is we probably should take the next step and add another column beside all the services and categorize them. Some of them you're required by legislation, we must do. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So there should probably be a check mark on those ones saying, it's great, we could play with them, but we still have to have them. But there's a whole bunch that are technically called discretionary, where it's entirely up to council if we deliver this service. Now, they may be very important to the community, but at the end of the day, some of them are discretionary, and you have a lot of power to determine what level of service you want to do for a discretionary service.
Yeah.
So it's important for people to understand that there's probably 50% of the services we do, we don't have a choice. The provincial legislation, it's sometimes federal legislation, says thou must do. But there's probably 50% where we could play around with and see if there's a sweet spot to fit for the community. Maybe some need to be increased. Maybe some need to be, like you said, maybe we don't need to do them anymore because someone else has taken that on. And I'm not trying to pick on a couple, but I didn't, until we did this project, I wasn't aware that we were one of the counties that still did bale weighing and moisture testing. So I wasn't aware. A lot of places just moved on from that because producers just take care of that themselves. But that must be a holdover from back in the day when a lot of people didn't do that. So that's the importance of knowing this is everything we offer. Council has to give us some guidance in the future. Hey, we'd like to focus on these ones. Can you bring us back a review on the effectiveness of this? And that's really where you've set it up. Some of the heavy lifting is done, and the next council gets to take it that next step and say, okay, we need to play around with a few things.
Moisture testing, and it used to be you'd bite the kernel of wheat or barley or something like that, and then you grab a sample and you come into the elevators and get a moisture sample, and then progressively farmers have gotten along to where they're big enough now that they pack them in their back pocket, and the technology has changed so much that it's great. Bale weighing, I remember when they brought the bale weigher device in, I went, holy man, what are we getting into? But I could understand it because that's how you sold your hay, and by weight, and now producers are big enough. They have their own thoughts. So no, and you're exactly right with actually identifying these services actually opens your eyes up to everything of stuff we didn't know what was going on, and people didn't know. So it's a great report.
And one of the things that, and we'll kind of set this up for the next council, and we'll try to hand off the status if we can get some from this council. But one of the things isn't reflected in maybe some of the findings were how many phone calls we get for certain services. This tells a good tale, but how many complaints do we get? And no one knows more than the current counselors how many complaints you get about certain things. That's very important. I know it's anecdotal, but in a way, it's absolutely perfect data. I mean, if you get mostly complaints about two things, roads and beaches, let's just pick on that, then that's pretty important information for us to know about. Just because it's only a phone call doesn't mean it's not right. So we'll take it to the next step.
It paints a picture. And lets everybody know what the concerns are, right? So go ahead, Reeve.
Thank you. And I echo how valuable this report is. And a little bit eye-shocking, it's, oh, wow, this is a huge report, but great information, and really worth the read. And I do hope those public who are interested in this, that they take the opportunity to check out the agenda for this report, because it is very informative. But I also, when you mentioned we're take it to the next level, because I'm assuming this will probably be pushed into the new term, where more decisions will be made. I do hope that there will be an element of public engagement, that the public will be able to also come out and say, hey, you know, this is the most important thing for me, especially when you do have a new council. They may not understand what some of those complaints are quite yet, depending on who comes back and who doesn't. So the public engagement piece for me is extremely important for this. It's the level of service that the county provides should be driven by the public who live here. And so I do hope that they get a good stake in on this report and the ability to just determine what we keep, what we increase, what we decrease, all of those things. So thanks again for bringing it forward, because this is fantastic. Good information.
Councillor Anderson.
I agree with the CAO that an extra column saying what we are legislatively required to do versus what we are doing as an optional item or because the community demands it is really important. I also don't want anything to be painted based on utilization. Like, I hope that one year we get 0 fire calls or wildland fires, and I would still put just as many dollars into training and practicing and that budget line, because in the event of, it's still 100% justified for me. So just having that broader site, but I do want to know kind of where we're planning on going with this, or make sure that it's going to stay on the table. I mean, we spent a lot of money to get these reports done, and I want to make sure that we're getting value out of it.
Okay. Councillor Hall.
I think it would be important that we refer this type of thing to a strategic planning or budget and priorities discussion, and potentially a special meeting where this is the only focus of the discussion, very much like we did for the water lines, so we can do a line by line discussion. And when we're thinking about how do we categorize these things, I think we need to consider that there's the legislatively required, and in the optional category, there's optional that's important and really quite critical to our residents, and also optional that is discretionary, because there are things that we pretty much need to do to have the kind of community where people want to live and be and thrive. And fire services are one of them. That's not legislatively mandated. It's, as far as I know, it's an option. So it's important and critical for the health of our community. I had also hoped that this would lead, and I hope, still hopeful that one of the outcomes of this is where we'll take the discussion to setting standards for things like road maintenance and our service levels, where we can actually define what that looks like. So we can be able to talk to people about what to expect in terms of snow removal, how many days is our target to get it done, what are our standards for graveling. And I think we have to get past the historic one-size-fits-all approaches that we've used and be more strategic in how we deploy resources to both manage the costs, but also take the money we're trusted with and spend it more effectively. So some roads probably need the grader on them, twice as frequently as others. And I think we need to set those standards where we've defined it. And then we know what we're trying to measure up to. And people know what to expect. It's a lot easier to have a conversation about the quality and the condition of a road if we can relate it back to how often should the maintenance equipment be there. So if no one else is wanting to do it, I'd be happy enough to move the recommended motion, or that the committee of the whole receive the materials regarding the service review and observations and forward them to a future budget discussion. Because part of that should be, we need to get to a place where we're budgeting based on priorities, not just continually adding.
Should we go to a budget discussion before we actually have a discussion about the whole, about what's in the document? Maybe we should just move it to a future meeting to be solely discussed, or just a discussion on the services themselves.
Fair enough. Very reasonable.
Okay. So just to forward the committee of the whole to receive the follow-up materials regarding the service level review and observations and forward to a,
It's probably part of strategic planning, really,
Yes.
where you're trying to set out your goals and objectives and maybe, there's maybe some services that when we have to, if we have to make choices about what's the most important thing to do, we have a tendency to just keep adding and adding. We just did it with the grants program. We just add a little bit more without ever having a conversation about where does the money come from? Do we stop doing anything to fund this? We just keep expanding. And I think we have to get much more disciplined about if we're going to spend money, where is it coming from? And are we going to not spend in somewhere else in order to budget and afford that?
yeah, you betcha. I agree with that. That's why before we go to an actual budget meeting, we should just decide whether the services, just have a meeting on this service level review and that way we can talk about each service and what's important. And then if we feel that it's important, well then we can look at the monies that are going into it. So perfect. And you'll move that motion?
Sure.
Okay, Counselor Anderson.
Thank you. Being that this is a lot of service inventory, did they summarize the service level at all in a similar manner? So, graders are expected on the road every 2 to 3 weeks. When you call for bail weighing, they'll get there within 2 weeks. Did the consultant identify the service levels that we've currently established, or is it just the service inventory?
Mr. Chairman, each area has that. Our problem is we don't have a service level standard adopted by council for many services. It's based on what we think council wanted, maybe a motion back in a council meeting. It's killing us on a number of different issues. We're getting there. You've adopted a number during this term, which helps us. But there's a whole bunch that we either need to review or we need. I could give us some examples. Maybe a good example that we know of is we've got a bunch of registered drainages, licensed drainages in this county. Most places have a level of service adopted for that. We have nothing. So that's just one. We've probably got 10 important ones. I think maybe I should tell you about another project we're working on, and it's about corporate priority menu that you're going to see, is all the things that we can think that next council should take into consideration over a 4-year term. Things to do, things we're hearing, and that we see need to be done. All the missing levels of service documents. We don't have one for parks, recreation, campgrounds. Just huge. It's a huge part of our business. We don't have a level of service. So we've got a bit of a baseline of kind of what we do, but we don't have any background. We don't have a baseline policy to say we're meeting council's requirements because we don't have policy.
So that means virtually having a meeting and having a long discussion about the services, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And what we would do is we'd probably bring a template for you, kind of half filled out, and kind of say, this is what we are doing, and this is based on the budget you've established. This is what we're doing. Now, do you want to go up? Do you want to go down? It's not that difficult. And some of the other ones might be a little more interesting. Maybe road maintenance might take a little bit longer. Gravel road maintenance, and I'll just throw this out there right now, the gravel standard. I think that this is a county that probably really needs to look at its gravel standard. I guess the baseline here is, in general, we gravel every road once every 4 years. And some roads get more than that, busier roads. A lot of places have gone to once every 3 years, and that's just been a change. and you can tell. You can really see it. So there's some other ones, discussions I think are going to be really fulsome. Some of the other ones I think they'll be pretty straightforward.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Gerlach.
And I think we need to define the things that people can do for themselves. And the things that the municipality, and somehow I think we're straying into a lot of areas where we're doing things that the public can do themselves. And we should be more concentrating on the things that they can't do for themselves, and because people have to get engaged, they have to be involved in their communities. And I just think sometimes making things more available actually does more harm than good, because people just wait for somebody else to do it.
Okay, so I guess, where do you want to go from there? Councillor Hall, you, wanted to throw that motion on the table to, send it to a strategic discussion?
I think that's what we decided.
Okay, and administration understands that
This,
too?
this clearly needs a lot more discussion. I just don't think, a meeting like today where we've got 15 things on the agenda is, this requires a slow, probably a workshop over a day or two where we just go through and talk about it and talk about what the expectations are and what are the right path forward, and seek the advice of administration.
Yep, yeah, I totally agree. Okay, sounds good. If there's no other discussion, we'll vote on that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it passed, no opposed. Well, thank you. And on that, all of that, can I get a motion to go into closed? Reeve Holland has made a motion to go into closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. We are in closed.